Hi, all right. Um, I'm still having some, okay, wait. All right, I'm still having some trouble with technology here. So, okay, good. We have some people on now. And hi, Lolin. Hi, Loza. Hello, everybody that is watching. Thank you for being patient with my tech unsavviness. I'm not too familiar with all of this still, but I will be. Okay, so as other people log on, if you guys have any questions or anything specifically that you want to know about what to cook with, what kinds of fats to use, what kinds of oils you should be using or that you are using. And if you want to talk about it beforehand, we can. Hi, Sheila. So, so glad always to see you. I'm so looking forward to have you here in Tijuana soon. Okay, so the topic for today is fats and oils for cooking. And that is something really important that we all need to know because these are ingredients that we have in our pantry and that we sometimes have them in our pantry and we don't even know why, but it's, you know, what we've been cooking for such a long time. And, but it really, you know, if we come to think about, or we really start thinking about everything that we have in our pantry and how much do we use, or how much do we know about all of the ingredients that we use in our food, or all of these culinary ingredients that we have, you know, it's like, well, you know, do we really know if it's healthy or if it's not healthy, or if it's helping us in some way, or if it's just because we're used to having it, or because that's what my mom cooked with, or that's what my parents taught me how to cook, or, you know, or am I just following recipes? So it's really important that we have all the information that we can about our food, because food is something that we put into our bodies, and we really need to know what we are putting into our bodies, because we have to make, because I mean, it's our body, and we have to make informed decisions. So that's the whole idea of these classes, to know a little bit more about what we're eating, the foods that we're putting into our body, why we're doing it, and if we're okay with it, or if you want to switch. So, all right. I'm just going to be following the comments here so that I don't get lost. And all right, Lolin wants to know everything. I'm so lost. And you know, I did, this is something really funny, but maybe like 5 years ago, I had no clue. Like I did not know how to turn on my stove even. I've never learned how to cook. My mom, which I mean, she's a wonderful woman, but she, you know, she was always the kind of mom that, no, you have homework, you have to do this and you have to do that, and you're not going to do any cooking. So I never learned how to cook. And when I became an adult and I was sick from eating so much junk when I wasn't eating at home, that's when I learned how to cook. And then I started getting curious about my food. And then I took I did a course in basic culinary skills, and then I did culinary medicine, and then I learned a lot, and that's why I want to transmit all this information to you, because it is something that we sometimes don't really think about. So culinary ingredients are all of these ingredients that we use to cook, that we don't use in large quantities, but we do use very often. And things like sweeteners, we talked about sugar, sweeteners, all of that last Thursday. And today we'll be talking about fats, oils, and then on next Thursday, we'll be talking about salt. Because those are the three main things that we use to add pleasure to our meals: fat, sugar, and salt. And sometimes there's a lot of marketing strategies around these culinary ingredients that We think that if something is low fat, it's better for us. If it's low sugar and it has all of these 0-calorie sweeteners, it's better for us. But there's a lot of misinformation around this. So today in this class, there's very important stuff that we need to learn, very basic stuff that we need to learn around fat. So there's, but when we're going to choose the kind of fat or the kind of oil that we're going to cook with or that we're going to have in our pantry, there's three things that we have to keep, or two things that we have to keep in mind when we're choosing culinary ingredients. And that is for health purposes and for culinary purposes. So is it good for me and my body? And does it go with the kind of dish that I'm trying to prepare? I'm not going to use olive oil, of course, to bake a cake. And I'm going to use butter for that. So, so it's important to know what kind of oils or fats we can use for certain meals, but it's also important to know how is it going to affect my health. So I'll be reading all of these as I see them, okay? Will my diabetes go away, Jason? I sure hope so. I'm not hungry ever. How can I take my protein besides shakes? Oh, well, we'll talk about that in another class maybe, but I'm a huge promoter of legumes. If you want to go back to the YouTube channel, we do have a class on grains and a class on legumes, and we talk about how using these two together, you can have a great source of protein. And also on the other classes that we have that are uploaded on the YouTube channel, you can find a lot of information on how to get your macronutrients, which are proteins, carbs, and fats. Today, we'll be talking about culinary ingredients. Hello from Kansas. I was approved today for my surgery, and I'm so nervous about the diet restrictions. I'm very happy I caught this live. Great. I'm happy you're here, Valerie. And all right, good. So when we're trying to choose an oil, we have to keep in mind health reasons and culinary reasons. And one of the main things that affects both, it affects both our health and our dish, is the smoking point. The smoking point is the temperature at which this oil or this fat starts to break down and starts to make it unhealthy. So when the oil breaks down, it oxidizes and it releases free radicals. And all of these free radicals, we know they can have negative health consequences and a cell damage. And if we are now in a health path or in a health journey with our surgery and with all of these important, this huge decision that we made to change not just our anatomy, but also our lifestyle, then it's good that we do not mess it up with anything, that we try to keep all our foods as whole as possible. Remember, as the more processes our foods have, the less nutritious they will be. So, so that is why we need to learn how to choose these cooking oils and fats. So smoking point is really important. The type of fat that it contains too. So for health purposes, it's really important to know if this fat that you're using contains monounsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fats, saturated fats, or trans fats. So the two kinds of fats that we do want in our diet are monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats, which we can find mainly in avocado, olive oil, nuts, seeds, basically. That's where we can find these good fats. These good fats are going to be good. These are good for our cholesterol levels. So that is what we want. Then there's the saturated fats. Saturated fats mainly come from animals. So lard, butter, duck fat, chicken fat, all of this is saturated fat, which is not the healthiest for coconut oil, also has saturated fat, which is not the healthiest option for us. But then again, there are some dishes that require this certain kind of fat to make it a lot more tasty. So I don't want to satanize any kind of food and say, do not ever eat animal fat or saturated fats. It's okay, just as long as we know that this is something that we need to keep at a minimum. Okay, what we do want is monounsaturated fat and polyunsaturated fats. Saturated fats at a minimum, and trans fats is what we do not want ever in our bodies, like ever. And all trans fats are all of these spreads, all of these oils that have been transformed, that have been processed. And this is basically margarine. Many of those sprays that we use to cook. I know that in the United States, there's a ban now on using trans fats in certain foods, which is wonderful, but in Mexico, we don't have that. And we still see trans fats in a lot of the products that we buy. So it's important that we know trans fats is something that we do not want. Monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats we do want, and saturated fats we want at a minimum, okay? So smoking point is one of the most important point or things that we need to look at when we are trying to decide which fat to use. So when a cooking oil is heated, it eventually will reach its smoke point, which it's every oil has a different smoke point. So when it reaches the smoke point and it goes over, then that's what makes it unhealthy. It also makes it less tasty. Burn oil, we don't want to burn our oil, we don't want to burn the oil that we're cooking with. So that's why it's important to know what are the cooking oils that have the higher smoking points, to know what we're going to use. So we'll talk about the most. Hi, Michelle from Georgia, 6 weeks post-op, wonderful. We probably met then if you're 6 weeks post-op. So the most common oils that we see are vegetable oil, canola oil, and corn oil. So vegetable oil is usually a mix of different types of oils. It is inexpensive. It's a good choice. I mean, it's something that has a neutral flavor. It's something that a lot of us have in our pantries, and we don't know, it just says vegetable oil. So this is a very generic oil. You don't really know what's in this. It does have a high smoke point, but you don't know what plants actually the oil was extracted from, how they were grown, or how it is processed. This is not one of my favorite kinds of oils, but it's good if you're using something, for frying. So we don't know what the ratio of saturated fat, monounsaturated fat, and polyunsaturated fats these vegetable oils can have, because that will depend on the blend. So many of these are sunflower, corn, soy, different kinds of safflower, different kinds of plant oils mixed together. So unless we know exactly what it's made from, we will know if it's healthy or not. This is something that if you're looking for an inexpensive, if the price is something that determines what kind of ingredients you buy, then it probably is better than using margarine or using any other kind of trans fat, but there are other options. So another one of the most common oils that we see in the market is canola oil. What about peanut oil? We'll definitely get that. We're getting to peanut oil. So canola oil is also a very common oil that we can find in our pantry. And this is, it's not a natural kind of oil. It was made from, it's derived from rapeseed, from the rapeseed plant. And actually canola is from Canada, because it was developed in Canada. So that is why it's called canola oil. So it can be also a good option. It does have a high smoke point. It has a very neutral taste. It's okay for frying, but it's not one of the major reasons why I do not recommend that we use this oil regularly, is that it doesn't really come from a natural plant, and most of the canola oil is produced from genetically modified plants. So I am not saying that GMOs is something that we need to avoid, but if we can, then we should. Okay, so canola oil is something also that is very common that we usually have in our pantry, but it's inexpensive. It has a high smoke point, it has a very neutral flavor, but it's probably not the best option if we have others. We also have corn oil. I'm looking at your comments here, okay? So we also have corn oil. Corn oil is another one of those oils that we see a lot, and that is, and that probably something that I grew up with Mazola, and looking at Mazola at all in my grandma's kitchen, my mom's kitchen, and you know they buy these big tubs because they were cheaper at Costco. So that corn oil, if we think about it, so oils and fats usually come from plants that have fat. That's kind of logical, right? So corn oil, if you think about it, corn oil is not an oily plant. So the only way that we can make corn oil is if the corn goes through various refining processes, because it can't be extracted naturally from corn, because corn does not have a high content of fat. So most corn oil is also made using GMO corn. And we mainly see this in a lot of kitchens and industrialized kitchens. So this kind of oil, I do not recommend either, even though it is very common and we see it, we see it a lot in a lot of restaurants. It's used because it is not a plant that is oily. Then it has to go through various processes. So we know, again, the more processes our foods go through, the less nutritious they will be. So this is not another one of those oils that I would recommend. I wanted to mention these because I know that a lot of people have these in their houses: corn oil, vegetable oil blend, and canola oil. So even if we do have them, I do recommend that we find other options, because these are not the best options. Because there are other oils that we can use that have a high smoking point. So one of my favorite oils, because of its high smoke point, because of its neutral flavor, because it does have health benefits, is avocado oil. So we all know that avocados are a wonder for our health. It has really good oils. Avocados are high in monounsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fats, and this is the oil also. So all of these many of these oils have two kinds. It's either refined or it's not refined. So, well, avocado oil and if they're refined, their smoke point is going to be a lot higher. So you can find avocado oil as refined or not refined, and it does have a high smoke point. I love it because you can fry with it, you can saute, you can sear foods, you can brown them, you can even bake with avocado oil. I like to roast my vegetables with avocado oil. You cannot taste it. There's certain kinds of oils that you can probably get that little that taste or that aftertaste in your foods, and avocado oil is very neutral. The only concern about this is that it is a little bit more expensive. You can find it. I always get mine at Marshall's or Ross. You know, they have the gourmet section with all of the oils there at a lower price than you can find them at the supermarket. So that would be one of the options if you want to get good avocado oil, where you can get it, or what, you know, those designer discount stores, they usually have a gourmet section, and that's where you can get good oils too. So avocado oil would be my number one choice if I want to use high temperatures. We also have light olive oil. Light olive oil is not the extra virgin, so it's a refined version of olive oil. And this one also has a little bit higher smoke point than extra virgin olive oil. Its smoke point is a little bit higher, so it can also be used for roasting, for grilling, for sauteing, but it does not have the same nutritional properties that extra virgin olive oil does. So extra virgin olive oil is the best kind of oil that you can have, but its smoke point is very low. So we also need to take that into consideration, that the way that what we can use extra virgin olive oil with is cold dishes, or if we're just sauteing something very lightly, if we're not using temperatures, too high temperatures that are too high, if we're not going to be using it, if we're not, it's for baking, it's not the best option. For frying, it's not the best option. But also as a finishing oil, extra virgin olive oil has so many health benefits that you can add it to anything just because of its health benefits. So it's a really good finishing oil, even if we're not cooking. Like if you make a lentil soup, lentils taste wonderfully with oils. And there's also certain plants that their antioxidants can be, these oils can help with so that you can get more benefit from the antioxidants. So it does help with to bring out certain properties or nutritious properties in certain plants. So extra virgin olive oil would actually be my #1 choice if you are using cold dishes, or if you're not using high temperatures. So maybe in hummus, or it goes really good with legumes, with a lentil soup, or with other kinds of dips, or in your salad, of course, to make a dressing. So we will have some recipes on how to make dressings, and of course olive oil is going to be in all of our recipes. So that would be another option if we're not using high temperatures. And another one that I would also recommend is safflower oil. Those are the main ones that I use. Avocado oil, safflower oil, and olive oil. So safflower oil also has a high smoke point. It has a smoke point approximately the same as avocado oil. So safflower oil is made from a seed of the safflower plant. It is very low in saturated fat. And it does have certain health benefits. So it has been linked to certain anti-inflammatory properties. It has also been proven to help with stabilizing blood sugar. So it does offer certain health benefits that other oils haven't been proven. The problem with safflower oil also is that it can be a little bit expensive. So again, I do recommend that you go to these stores if price is an issue, because I know for some of us, we are always looking at how to get the most from our from our money in terms of food. So going to these designer discount stores and getting them for a much cheaper price is a good option if you're looking for high or good quality ingredients. So safflower oil is another one of my oils of choice. Coconut oil. Let me see if there are any questions up to now. 20 months post-op, 360 down to 205, doing amazing. Congrats, Jay. Congratulations. Hi, I felt dehydrated, but all the clinics were full and backed up. So I drank coconut water with pulp and I felt so much better. Yes, we're going to talk about coconut oil right now. So yeah, coconut oil is wonderful. I also drank aloe juice to stimulate my bowels. That's wonderful. And grapeseed oil, we'll get to that too. Okay. All right, so another one of the oils that has a very high smoke point is coconut oil. Now, this can be refined or unrefined, and also the smoke point is going to depend on if it is refined or unrefined. But coconut oil is a saturated fat. It has a lot of controversy over the health benefits that it may have. There's a lot of research that has been made recently looking at its benefit, because it has been linked to high cholesterol levels, but it has been linked also to high HDL levels, which is a good cholesterol, which in the long run isn't that bad. So coconut oil could be another option. I like using coconut oil if I'm baking. I'm not a big baker, but I do like to make certain kinds of desserts, like nut butter balls, granola, all of these kind of sweet dishes that can be very healthy. If we can use them with coconut oil, and it can be a much better option than butter, because butter is what we usually use for sweet stuff or for cook or for baking. So coconut oil can be a good substitute for most dishes that we need to bake. And if it's slow heat baking, it's fine. We can also use it to saute. Because it is a saturated fat, I do recommend that we do not use it excessively, okay? Because there was this craze with coconut oil that it was used in everything. I mean, I think that if it's saturated fat, I do believe that there are other options that we can use instead of coconut oil. Also, one of the things that I use a lot of coconut oil is just putting in my body. So I do buy a jar of coconut oil very often just to use it instead of a cream, body cream. It's a really good option. It keeps you very well moisturized. That's mainly what I use coconut oil with, and nut butter balls. So another oil that is very similar to coconut oil is palm oil. So health-wise, palm oil is very similar to coconut oil. It does have some health benefits, but there's a lot of ethical issues around palm oil too. The production has been linked to rainforest destruction, and well, of course, we don't want to lose all of our biodiversity. So it's better, if we have other options, let's use them. Again, the ones that I recommend is avocado oil for high temperatures, avocado oil, and safflower oil, and for low temperatures, olive oil. We have many other oils which I want to talk about, but those are the three main ones that I recommend. Grapeseed oil, somebody asked right now about grapeseed oil. It has a smoke point that is not too high, so I wouldn't use it very much for dishes that need to be fried or sauteed for a long time. It will burn easily. It does have polyunsaturated fats and monounsaturated fats. It is a multi-purpose oil. One of the things that I do not like about grapeseed oil, and if any of you are here watching can also comment on this, is the aftertaste. So it does give you a little bit of a taste that is not, that I do not like very much. But it is a good oil. It is a good option if you're not using too high temperatures. I know that Costco has it sells you that big jar of grapeseed oil, and I don't know, for some reason there was I saw it in everybody's kitchen, and you can kind of it does give you that aftertaste. So it's not my number one option, but if you're using it, that's perfect. Just make sure that it does not burn or that it does not go over its smoke point. Let me see what other questions we have here. Yes, I heard that if you use coconut on your skin, it clogs pores. So it's not true. Oh, I should check that with my dermatologist. I don't use it on my face. I don't use coconut oil on my face, but I do use it on my body. I don't know. I have to check. Can you talk about dressing? Example, avocado mayo, avocado? Yes. So all of these dressings that, like mayonnaise, I know is something that we have, that everybody uses for something or other. So mayonnaise, if you are making it at home with olive oil or with one of these oils that we're talking about that can have some certain health benefits, it's perfect. But if you are buying the if you're buying the store-bought mayonnaise, I do recommend that you use avocado oil or olive oil mayonnaise, or if you can substitute mayonnaise altogether with Greek yogurt, in some cases you can, then it would be a lot better. But if you definitely cannot live without your mayonnaise, I get it. My dad was like that. We always had mayonnaise at home. I hated it, so I don't use it that much. But there's a very good quality. There's a very good quality avocado oil mayonnaise that you can get that I've tasted it, and it tastes very similar to regular mayonnaise, and it's a much better option. It's a much healthier option. And that would be my answer to your question, Linda. All right. So we also have peanut oil. Somebody asked about peanut oil in the comments, and peanut oil is also an oil that is not too flavorful. I actually like it very much. I don't use it that much just because I have, I'm used to using other oils. It does have a good balance of monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats, and it has been linked to heart disease prevention. So that is also a good option. It does have a very low smoke point. So the unrefined version has a very low smoke point. So it's better if you use it as a marinade or or in dressings to add a little bit of a flavor. I mean, it does have a peanutty flavor, not too much. So that would be my my answer to the peanut oil question. Because of its smoke point, that it's a little bit lower, I wouldn't use it for food or meals, or foods that are high in that I have to cook in high temperature. So we see it a lot in a lot of Asian cuisine. So Thai food, Chinese food, they have a lot of peanut oil. I've used it in dressings, and it gives it a good flavor. It's also kind of thin, it's not too oily. It's a little bit more watery. So it does give your dressings a little bit more, it doesn't kind of stick, it's a little bit more fluid, which is also a good option. And we will have a class on, so this is kind of a surprise, but we're preparing our cooking classes now in Dr. Ortiz's kitchen. But we'll have these, we'll announce these when we're ready. And we will definitely have a class on dressings, because it is important to know what we put in our food. We also have sesame oil. Sesame oil is another option. It also has a balanced ratio of monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. It's better if we use it if it's not heated. So it's also a good option for dressings, for salads. It's a really good option. Like I said, there's a lot of plants that have certain antioxidants that work better when you use fats. So using sesame oil on certain dressings is a good option. Using it in dips like hummus, using sesame oil would be a good option. I kind of like the olive oil taste, but sesame oil would also be a good option. So many of these oils are not just used for cooking, or in heat, but also as finishing oils. So you can use them on dips, you can use them in salads, you can use them in many other dishes and soups, in your creams, to give it that extra nutrition that these fats give you, that we're sometimes afraid of fat. I know that along with before carbs were something that we were so afraid of, it was fats. We were so afraid of fat making us fat. And we now know that it is not true. We need fats. We actually need these fats to lower our cholesterol. We need these fats for heart health. We need these fats to have healthy hormones. So we do not want to avoid fats altogether. We just want to know what kinds of fats are good for us. So these are the fats that we need: polyunsaturated fats, monounsaturated fats. These are the ones that I just mentioned are the ones that are most commonly found in the supermarket. And then we have our saturated fats, which I'm not really going to go into detail with, but because we know, but butter, lard, all of these duck fat, all of these fats that are from animals that are really tasty. So that's one of the characteristic of these saturated fats, is that they make food very delicious. They make food, they make certain foods a lot more enjoyable. And pleasure factor, we always talk about the pleasure factor in our foods. It's really important. So that's also something that we need to take into consideration. So I'm not going to, if I know a certain dish tastes delicious, if I use butter, I'm not going to use another kind of oil just because I want to avoid eating butter. So what we can, so here in Mexico, we have refried beans. So if anybody has tasted refried beans with lard, they are the most delicious thing in the world. And of course, I mean, if I'm eating refried beans every day, I'll do them with avocado oil, and you know, it does the work. But if I really want, if I'm having guests over and I really want to outdo myself with refried beans, I'm going to use lard because it makes it really delicious. So you have to pick and choose your battles. So there are certain fats that are probably not the healthiest for us in terms of saturated, polyunsaturated, monounsaturated, but they are in that moment going to give us a lot more pleasure. And maybe it is a situation in which I want to have the most pleasure from my food. And that is when I'm going to choose that kind of fat. Does that make sense? Okay, always pick and choose your battles. It's important that you know the kinds of fats that exist. It's important that you know what is good for you health-wise and what isn't good for you health-wise. It's also important that you know the smoke point, because that will determine whether your dish will turn out correct or not. But it's also important that you know that it has to be pleasurable, that you have to enjoy it, and that you have to that you have to get the most out, that you have to get the most from your food. I'm sorry, I'm having a bit of a distraction here. Okay, so anybody else have any questions? There's also ghee. We have ghee. Ghee is actually butter, but it's clarified butter. So it's butter boiled to a point where it does not burn, and then it's extracted. So I'm not a huge fan of ghee. I'm not a huge fan of ghee just because it is it's the food kind of sticks because it's not too fatty. It's okay if you are into like all this new trends in culinary ingredients, that's fine. But I mean, if you're using ghee, I'd rather just use butter. Dr. C, can you tell me the difference between butter and grass-fed butter, like the keto kind? Okay, keto is actually a marketing term. So butter is keto friendly, but grass-fed butter is butter from the milk of cows that have been grass-fed, which can be a bit healthier, and also it can be a bit more ethical. But in terms of health benefits, it's pretty much the same. We have a really good brand here in Tijuana. I mean, we have really good dairy here in Baja California. So I always get my butter from Jersey. If anybody is from around the area, that's what I use. I don't really, really try to find organic or grass-fed or all of these. I think there's a lot of marketing terms around these. What's important that you know is that the more natural, the better. The more refined, the less nutritious. The more processes your foods go through, the less nutritious they will be. And also the ones that you have to avoid is food that is not food. So margarine, you don't want margarine in your life. Nobody needs margarine in their life. Margarine is plastic. You don't want plastic. It's better to opt for the more natural kinds of fats like butter. So don't use margarine. And let me see, I think I came in late. What kind of butter do you suggest? Just regular butter. I mean, if you're using butter, I mean, I buy the one that we have here, but I know that there's the Challenge butter. That is a good brand. I'm 2 weeks post-op, currently in the ER here in the US. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Tamika. I hope everything is okay. And current in the ER. All right. Well, Tamika, I wish you the best. I hope everything is okay. Okay, pneumonia. All right, guys. Well, if anybody else has any more questions, side note, is apples and pears available in the United States yet? Almost. It's almost available. We'll definitely let you know, and I'll be doing a live with the products to explain them to you and the process of buying them. We'll definitely let you know. And well, mainly that's it. If you guys have any more questions, comments, concerns, you can put them in the comment box. We'll go back to them and answer your questions, or you can log on just Mondays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. I might be doing them a little bit earlier. I'm not sure yet, but for now we're doing them at 5 p.m. And if you have questions from the class from last week, you can go ahead and ask them. So the idea here is just to create a dialogue, and any questions that you can have about the foods that you're eating, answer them, and just to have more information. And even if I'm not giving you like a whole bunch of information in these Facebook lives, it's just good that you know that the information is out there. And I know, like, when I see these kind of classes or lives, you know, it just kind of sparks my curiosity in other topics, and I'll go Google it. And it's really important that you Google everything, that you find out everything about your food, that you know what you're putting into your body. That is important. It's really important. It's not just, here, eat this and you have to eat this because that's what the doctor said. No, you have to know why you're eating it. And if you don't want to eat it, what other options you may have. And those are decisions that you have to make because it is your body. So, all right, guys, I have to get going because I have to go to the Welcome Center to have the live class with the patients that just had surgery. So I'm going to run. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section and we'll definitely get back to them. And next Thursday, we'll be talking about salt. So if you have any questions right now, just jot them down so that we can talk about it. We'll be talking about salt, sodium, what options we can have. There's also a lot of marketing around salt, the Himalayan, if sea salt, if the iodized, why, which one is best for me. And if you're avoiding salt, what you can use to not include it in your diet. So there's a lot of information also that we can talk about in regards to salt. So we'll be talking about that next Thursday. I hope to see you there. Let me just make sure that I answered all of your questions. Linda says they are amazing. Oh, the apples and pears products. Yes, they are. Thank you. See you soon, Valerie. Thank you for watching. Cindy, hi. Hey, Cindy, so great to see you. And Janet says they have been very helpful. Awesome to have you as part of EOC. I love being a part of EOC. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next Thursday. Bye-bye.